Hey everyone, so this is a quick kind of a test as well as a quick insight into how I'm creating this style sheet. So I've been sharing some of these views on Instagram and on Twitter. So if you're coming from those applications, glad to have you. Hopefully I'm able to provide some type of insight in regards to creating a design in Sketch and then implementing that design into Webflow. So we're going to just jump into it. This won't be long. This might be 5 to 10 minutes, just kind of giving an overview of some of my processes. But yeah, so that'll be all. And now let's jump into the dashboard. So the next thing you're going to see is I'm going to share some of the components that I'm working on in the global style sheet. Alrighty. So what you're seeing here is the colors style sheet that I'm working on, and previously I was sharing some of the typography style sheet that I've gone ahead and created. And so this is for a template that I'm creating for a project that I'm working on. And to kind of give you some insight of how this was implemented, what I use is I use an application called Sketch, and in that application there's a plugin that I use called Sketch Measure. And with Sketch Measure, it allows me to spec or view properties of different elements within the Sketch article, or rather the Sketch asset. And then I can open up this export and view it on a browser, in a browser, to understand what the properties are for these elements. So I can see the size and the width. I can see the color of the text and what text is being used and the spacing. And so that's how I have been actually re-implementing this into the projects that I've been working in. So now let's jump back into our Webflow project and continue on with this process. So what I've already done is I've created the first of many colors, and now I'm going to continue. And what you see here is that I'm implementing a BIM naming structure. And as you can see, the color box has a first, and then after that I'm going to add in a second. But before I do that, I want to add some margin around each, so that each has a little bit of spacing. Maybe one rim might be good. Yeah. And so the structure is using flex. So then when I copy this, it is just going to add it all the way across. And then I want it to wrap. And so in order for this to wrap, I need to make sure that my color wrapper contains wrap children. And there you go, then it wraps across. So now I'm going to look back at my style sheet and begin implementing some of these items. So the next one would be this one here, the highlight icon green. Jump back into my style sheet, implement this here, and then I'm going to change this to is second. And so I'm keeping it very generic so that when I add additional one, that I can just simply second, third, fourth, and fifth, and not have to worry about the naming convention. But what I do want to do is make sure that each color is added as a global color. So then I'll save it as a global color. So that's what I'm particularly interested in, is making sure that each color is a global color. So then when I implement these colors, it will be easily changed whenever changes are needed. Also, I'm noticing that this text block is showing that this is kind of this bluish color, and I think I may have added a style on the is first to change the color, as you can see here. So what I'm going to do is remove that style off of is first, and then add that style on actually the text box, or the box rather. So what this is going to allow me to do is make sure that all text contain that white. So then I'll return the is first, and now all the text will contain the white. And then the next color is going to be, let's check our sketch file. This here, add that in. And then is third. And you can learn more about this naming convention. There's an article that was previously written about this naming convention, and hopefully it's helpful. And if you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out. I'm going to add in the names here, and so that you're not watching me just implement these colors, what I'm going to now do is work on a component. I'm going to save this here. So we're going to save and colors implementation. Save it back up. Now what I'm going to do is try to create a component based on some of the items that we've already created. So I'm going to look here to locate one that might be something that I can quickly create in about 5 to 10 minutes. See here, which one might be the easiest here? This one might be. See if there's any others that might be easier. This would definitely be easy. So yes, we might create this contents component here. Yes, I think that's what we'll do. Make it nice and quick. So what I'm going to now show you is how I export this using the measure plugin. So then I go to sketch measure, and then I go to spec export, click spec export, and I will locate the contents. And so now that that is checked, I will make sure nothing else is checked, and then I will export that. And then I'm going to export that as contents and export that here. So it's going to export all of the layers, and then I'll be able to view these in a browser to see all of the properties. I'm going to move this over here so you can view it. So this is that contents component section. So as you can see, when I click on this property or this element, I'm able to see the properties of this element. It is 45 rims wide and 42.5 rims tall, and this is using a 16 pixel base. So, and all of these have been, and this 16 pixel base has already been implemented within my design. As you can see here, if I go to my body and check the selected tag and go to body all pages, you'll notice that it should be, let me double check here. Body all pages should be 16 pixels. Unless I changed it somewhere else, but yes, so it should be 16 pixels as the base. There you go. So now the 16 pixel base will be utilized throughout all text and widths and sizes. So that 16 pixel base is what will be utilized throughout everything when I'm using rims, the rim measure or rim style. So now let's jump back into our browser. So I'm in Firefox, and so I have an image here, and I have kind of a, what is this? Looks to be kind of a tag, hero text, and then logos. So what I am now going to do is add in these three logos into our sketch project. So if I go back to our file, locate, spec export. So right now I'm going back into our file, going into contents, and I believe it's in Oh, I'm glad I am showing you this. So now what I did not do previously is I did not make these elements exportable. So what I need to now do is go back to this image and make it exportable. Go to this area here. I think I'm going to see if I can separate these logos. And I can. So this is the Mashable. I'll make that one exportable. And the Verge, and make that one exportable. And I think I want them to be SVGs for these. And I want this image to be a JPEG. Awesome. I'm going to save that, and now I'm going to actually re-export my specs. Make sure it's under content, select content, export, and contents, and it should over. Yes, replace. Awesome. So now when I view this and look at the files, I check here, I should have assets. So now in my assets I have the logo, the two logos, and the image. So I had to make sure that I made those items exportable. So now I can add those items into our project. Awesome. Now what I'm going to do is create a page called contents. In this page, I'm going to just recreate different sections. So this section is going to be the, what should we name this section? We'll just name it C tag section for right now. And I want to make sure that this is a section. So I'm going to my tags and selecting section. And what I want, I'm looking at this and I'm analyzing, trying to see what would be the best way to implement this structure. So I think this is going to be a background image, and the height of it is going to be based on the padding and the margin within this section here. I think I'm going to use also flex to implement this as well. So 2 flex items and then flex as well in here, and yeah, go from there. So let's get this rolling. So we have our items. Now next I'm going to add in 2 div blocks. And for the C tag section, I want to make sure that it is flex and horizontal. And then 2 div blocks. Name this div block C. Make sure C tag section. So I'm naming this C tag section underscore image. And then name this C tag section underscore text. And from there, I'm going to change this C tag section image, add a background image to it, make it cover, add this as a background image. I want it centered. Then I'm going to begin just throwing in the text that we need for this section over here. So that's going to be the tag. This next item is going to be the heading item. This next part is going to be the text item. And then we're going to have 2 logos after that. Shall just use 1 for right now. Awesome. And so For each of these items, I think I'm going to rename these to have the same. So I think they're both going to be C tag section wrappers. So I think I'm going to rename this to C tag section wrapper and make them both 50%. I'm going to go to this one, section wrapper, excuse me, tag section, select wrapper, and going to remove the background. Then I'm going to add C tag background, and then add the background there. And with the C tag background, I want it to have a width of 100% and a height of 100%. And it's going to be based on this section here. So I want this to be have a 50% basis with a height of, how tall would we like this? It's a good question. So now I'm going to go back, see how tall these items are. So it's about 42.5 rims tall. So we'll use that for right now, just to this. And what's great about the measure plugin, it gives me a general guideline to go by. I don't necessarily have to use it, but it helps because it allows me to kind of get things rolling. So now we want this to have a height of 100%. There you go. Now it fills. So now we want to wrap our text items in an element, in a div element, so that we can begin adding in our padding. So C tag, we'll name this text wrapper. And going back to our measure plugin, it looks like there is, if we can locate it. So first I'm going to select this item, if I can, maybe if I zoom in here. I don't want to zoom in that way. Zoom in with, there we go. I can select this item and see, so it's about 11 rims away from the top, and it's about 5 rims from the side. So I have a 11 rim padding wrapper, 5 rims on each side, and at the bottom it's about almost 11 rims as well. So we'll keep that. Actually, I might keep the rims on the bottom empty. So 11 and 5. So okay, let's go back to our wrapper and we'll add 11 rims. Oh, that was 1, 11, and a 5 on each side. Nice. And the text color for each one seems to be black, so I will select and make this black, 000. And let's see here, this is industry, this is, says hello everyone, if I can spell correctly, everyone. Okay, and then grab this here, add this text here. Awesome. And let's add in our image as well. I think the first one is Mashable. And we're almost there. So the next thing I'm going to do is create this little tag item here. So this has a color of, this is the color, and it has a opacity of 12%. See here, I'm looking for this padding, or excuse me, so it's 0.95 rims on left and right side, and 0.5 rims top to bottom on the wrapper. So that's what we're going to create, is like a little wrapper around it. So if we go back into our item here, place this into a C tag. Let's see here, what should we name this? C tag. C tag tag wrapper. And it has a background color of this. It's going to be inline. Let's place our text inside of it, and it has a 0.5 rims on top, and we'll just round this up to 1 rims on the side. So if I click on option, it makes both top and bottom match, and if I click option here, it matches the left and right side. Awesome. Now we want to make sure that I have the settings correct. So the text is that color, but the background has a 12% opacity. So we'll grab this text here, or this color, we'll reduce this to 12%, and we'll change the text to the color. Awesome. Now let's take a look at our radius. So we have a 6.25 rim radius. Add that in here. If we scroll down, 6.25 rim radius, and there's our little pill. So we now have our pill, but there's one thing missing. Everything is capitalized, and let's check some other properties, make sure we have everything. So there's some more. So it's a medium font, 0.63 rims. So we'll add all this in here. So I'll move this over. So the text is 0.63 rims with a spacing of 0.06 and a line height of 0.63 as well. Awesome. And it's all caps, and it is a medium, so I don't have medium currently added in, so we'll just make this semi-bold. Awesome. So now we have our pill completed. It looks a tad bit off. I think it is because of the spacing here. Let's double check. Yeah, let's remove this spacing. Make it 0. Let's make it 1. Maybe 1. And yeah, it looks a little bit better. Yeah. And so that's what I like about having the measure plugin, is that I'm able to change and adapt it to whatever I need. All right, so now let's add in our C tag heading. And it is light, and I may have already created this with our style sheet. Double check here. Actually, looking at the style sheet, this one looks to be slightly a one-off. So it looks to be a one-off because what I'm seeing in my spec is this has like a 2.88 rim size, and the style sheet I created does not contain those specs. So what I'm going to do is just make this a quick one-off. Go back to my contents, tag heading, and make it a one-off. 5 rims, and it's 0 rim spacing, and it is a light. Yeah, there we go. And then the text below it, actually what I can do is set the text size here, and I think it follows, yeah, It is slightly larger, but not extremely. I think I'm going to just keep that. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep that the way it is. Next thing I'm going to do is place this image or these logos in a wrapper so that I can use place them inline. So C tag underscore logo, and I'm probably going to rename these. I'm going quickly, and I'm already feeling like these names are slightly off, but they're doing their job currently. So then C tag underscore, let's see here. Maybe this should be logo, and I'll remove that style off of here. And what I want to now do is just add a little bit of space. So if I look back at my spec, it's about 3.75 rem spacing on it. So I'm going to give them both that logo, as it might be useful later. I'm going to add in the verge, and on this one I'm going to name this is first, as it's the first logo, and this allows me to have some pretty simple and easy styles that I can add. That's pretty easy. So yeah, we've got it done. I can perhaps add that 11 rims to the bottom, but it's not really needed. So I've added it there. So now it is all the same. And now what I want to do is, and that's why I did not want 11 rims. So maybe I will remove this so that the height, yes, there we go. I want the height to remain the same for these here. I want to reduce this down as it reduces in size, and I probably will reduce the top padding here, 7 as it reduces. And then once it goes here, I think I want it to wrap. But how would I want this to wrap? I want it to wrap to where the text is on top and the image is on bottom. So that's what we're going to go back into our C tag section. And so it has the wrap children, but I want it to reverse the layout. If I did that correctly, should have. Oh, excuse me, reverse wrap. There we go. I think that's how I wanted it. Let's see here. I'm doing something wrong. Go ahead and get it figured out. So I want this to change to 100%. There we go. And I want this to be 100% as well. And I want it to wrap, but I want the to wrap. There we go. Perfect, perfect. So now it's time to complete some of these size settings. So yeah, that's pretty easy. Might reduce the height here a little bit. Maybe reduce it down to 75%. Perfect. And what else do we want to do here? Maybe make this 100% rather. How do we want to do this? I might want to change this to auto, and then change this to a min of 75%. Maybe that's what I wanted to do, maybe not. I'll have to tinker with it. Yeah, I'll tinker with it a bit. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. I might remove some of this white space in here. Maybe change this to 75% or so, and return it to 100% here, which is not ideal, not exactly what I want to do, but I'll definitely tinker with it. and yeah, I like it. So yeah, that's one section that I was able to create using the the measure plugin in Sketch. But yeah, so thank you for joining me. I definitely went over the time that I thought I would, but hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. This is my first time doing this. I didn't really even test this layout out, so you kind of got an idea of how I problem solve and go through different trials and tinkering. But yeah, check out the measure plugin in Sketch. It's definitely very helpful, something I use quite often, and you already know how much I love Webflow. So feel free to check both out. And again, any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Again, thank y'all for joining, and have a great weekend.